Agriculture plays a fundamental role in the economic stability and growth of any nation. It is the bedrock of food production, providing the necessary resources to feed the population. In Nigeria, the importance of agriculture extends beyond merely feeding its people. It's a crucial element in the quest for economic diversification, job creation, and national development. There is no doubt that the present administration is poised to invest in the agricultural sector in order to diversify from the oil sector and ensure both food productivity and security.
When we had our first Federal Executive Council, Mr. President rolled out his 8-point agenda, if you recall. Yes. On that 8-point agenda, number one was food security. So that goes to show that the importance of being food secured and to sustain the over 220 million Nigerians to be food secured is a top priority of Mr. President.
And we came on board to provide leadership to this agency in November of last year, November 2023. It's about 6 months we've been here, and in terms of the mandate, the Act clearly spells out 9 different functions, which to summarize is, or rather are, to provide funding, support, financing to the length and breadth of agriculture, to also support research in agriculture, and to give support
One point is as a result of a macroeconomic issue of supply and demand. And we thought that first things first, we need to ramp up production. And we need to ramp up production because to increase the volume of available food. And of course, food security means the availability, the accessibility, and affordability of food.
There are 2 areas we are looking at now. One is towards research. We all know the value of research in modern day society, and we've been, at this point in time, been able to group the 16 research institutes and the 17 colleges of agriculture that are led by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture into about 6 thematic areas. And
land for cultivation is becoming smaller because of climate change issues, desertification, coastal erosion, and flooding, and inaccessibility of land due to conflict, be it insecurity, terrorism, be it secessionist movement. The inability of our farmers to access their farms is also a hindrance, and also gave rise to the low productivity that we have seen.
a rice farm, right? You want to do a 100,000 hectare rice farm, which we don't have any in Nigeria now as we speak. So for you to do a 100,000 hectare farm, you need a lot of money for embankment, you need a lot of money for irrigation, you need a lot of money for, you understand. So all these things, you have to spend a lot of money to do them.
Being there means increased crop yields, adequate infrastructures, as well as enough funds to assist the farmers.
So we have started in some of the pilot areas of the dry season. We waited for the planting and the process, and then we identified those farmers on those farmlands. So we're identifying the farmlands first, and then we plug in the farmers and see those genuine farmers, because inputs needs to go to the genuine farmer, not the trader, not the one that will round trip some of the interventions of the government.
One of the challenges Nigeria has is the yield gap. So you go to countries that have the same socio-economic conditions as ours, but you find that the farmer, regardless of what strata of society he belongs to, has better yield per hectare. So we're looking at how to strengthen the seed systems to cover this yield gap. In line with the seed systems, we've also embarked on studies to look at how other countries have been able to develop seed systems.
We had a lot of the infrastructures which are poorly managed, some of them needs to be revived. We have the River Benue basins, which are underutilized, they are abandoned. Those things should be auctioned to serious businessmen, and government have to create the low interest rate funding for serious people to invest in agriculture. Yes, single digits.
Our focus is to banish poverty and actually have prosperity. Our president has said that I'm only going to tax prosperity. I want to tax the fruit. I want to tax the return.
National Information Technology Development Agency (NITDA) was created to organize and drive the nation's ICT sector. In August 2019, Mr. Kashifu Inuwa Abdullahi CCIE assumed office as the Director General of NITDA, employing a vision of a more digital Nigeria based on building a high-velocity organization, developing market-creating regulation, and facilitating Nigeria's development into a sustainable digital economy. NITDA remains committed to positioning the country as a global tech talent factory.
You all agree with me that industrialization is a key pillar of economic development, and this is the perfect time to drive that conversation.
We all know that Nigeria has a very strong potential to strengthen its local manufacturing capabilities.
All of us need to do some work in providing the right education and build capacity.
National Agricultural Development Fund, to be the leading development fund for agricultural growth, sustainability, and economic prosperity. Vudi, fashion is life. Investment is key, and while the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security is investing in wheat as a staple food, the National Agricultural Development Fund is investing in 4 major crops.
These crops are rice, maize, cassava, and cowpea, beans. We've itemized these crops because of the comparative advantage they have for our country. Nigeria is first in the production of 3 out of these 4 crops, and then second on the 4th. And then the number of farmers that rely on these crops gives us the largest basket of farmers to be able to fund an impact.
Our annual demand is about 6 million tons of wheat per annum. And we want to have a target because that's a huge outlay on our foreign exchange. Yes. So we believe that if we can cut down on the imports, ramp up production so we can cut down on the imports. And that way, at least we can save the country a lot of foreign exchange outlay. And we can also be self-sustained. And wheat is a very profitable crop.
I think agriculture is the future and it should be the new Nigeria. And anywhere I stay, anywhere I sit, I speak about it, because that's where the future is.
The reduction in large-scale farming in Nigeria has always been due to terrorism and banditry, among others, issues which the minister says are now in the past.
We have accessed more lands that was recovered from conflict. Katsina State Governor was here a couple of months ago, and he announced to the whole world that he has recovered almost 70% of those land that was hitherto taken by bandits. So that's something that is commendable to the Nigerian Armed Forces, to Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief, who had made a lot of commitment and emphasis, the determination to salvage that to those land that were hitherto under conflict, like I said, either through terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, or secessionist movements and things like that. So we have seen a lot of people going back into their farmlands to cultivate.
We need to create large-scale farms. Yes, the president need to talk to serious people that are very serious-minded in agriculture, not people that just want to do it for another sake. People that are serious, are driven, have the drive, to create, passionate about it, yeah.
On the issues of culling post-harvest losses and flooding, the National Agricultural Development Fund has also set up an emergency fund.
As a fund, we intend to have an emergency sub-fund that would help to cater for any agricultural emergency that may crop up. Presently, we are involved in the ginger recovery emergency. We are part of a larger task force set up by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, the Ginger Blight Emergency Task Force. As you may be aware, ginger is one of our country's most promising crops in terms of earning of income, in terms of export values.
We are using NIMET. We have also taken advisory from the hydrological, in terms of flooding those areas that will be flooded and what have you. And also, we're looking at the collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, where we have identified they have some issues with some of the irrigation sites the Renewed Hope Livestock Transformation Agenda. And it's going to be a very robust committee that will look into the value chain of the livestock and all the potentials, the opportunity, tremendous opportunities of livestock. And we're going to use innovation in terms of those that have excelled that we have seen, those that have similar climate that we have, in terms of dairy and livestock production and other value chain in livestock, whether it is rabbitry, whether it's poultry, whether it is piggery, and all the whole works. And we'll look at it in such a way that we encourage who is getting what. And you know your farmer. You should know your farmer, you should know what he is cultivating, you should know what kind of support you need to give him.
The essence of doing this is so that we're able to know where the failures are, where the challenges are, and of course the very many success stories that have been recorded. So that should be our first, the foremost achievement we want to have. And secondly, we're also involved in bringing, we're about closing what would be Africa's largest agricultural initiative.
There is no doubt that the story of this new Nigeria in the agricultural sector will be one filled with resilience, innovation and hope. It will be a story of a nation poised to reclaim its agricultural heritage and forge a path of sustainable development and food security.
Our focus is to banish poverty and actually have prosperity. Our president has said that I'm only going to tax prosperity. I want to tax the fruit. I want to tax the return.
National Information Technology Development Agency (NITDEV) was created to organize and drive the nation's ICT sector. In August 2019, Mr. Kashifu Inuwa Abdullahi CCIE assumed office as the Director General of NITDA, employing a vision of a more digital Nigeria based on building a high-velocity organization, developing market-creating regulation, and facilitating Nigeria's development into a sustainable digital economy. NITDA remains committed to positioning the country as a global tech talent factory.
You all agree with me that industrialization is a key pillar of economic development, and this is the perfect time to drive that conversation.
We all know that Nigeria has a very strong potential to strengthen its local manufacturing capabilities.
All of us need to do some work in providing the right education and build capacity.
National Agricultural Development Fund, to be the leading development fund for agricultural growth, sustainability, and economic prosperity. Vudi, fashion is life.
Africa's got stories.
A new Nigeria is here.
A new Nigeria is here.
A new Nigeria is here.